Hurricanes, drought, conflict, disasters create persistent problems to the vulnerables, and hunger. 1 in 9 people suffer from chronic hunger. Food Aid International is a global humanitarian IRS, International Revenue Service, and a non-profit organization that has joined the fight against poverty and hunger. Through partnership with Kids Against Hunger, Food Aid ships malnutrition to support meals of starving people around the world.
They hardly buy from me because they're giving out so much free rice.
Food is one of the most urgent needs in a humanitarian crisis, that when donors bring in food, those who make a living growing and selling food can suffer. Brooke Isham directs the Food for Peace program at the U.S. Agency for International Development.
There is a risk, definitely, and we are very aware of that, and that is why we are always looking at the impact of food aid on local markets and whether it is depressing prices in those markets.
Providing food for people in developing countries and securing their most basic need. However, food aid has been controversial as developed countries use food aid as a tool to secure their market share in the developing countries.
What in those days were called burdensome surpluses of food. So food aid was first and foremost a mechanism to get rid of those surpluses.
Dependency theory is based on the premise that a range of countries, especially in the developing world, lack the ability to control major aspects of their economic life, because of the dominance of developed societies in the world economy.
Developed countries disposed the surplus of production and gave it as aid to the developing countries. As a developing country becomes dependent on this food aid, then its market share of the country's food production increases. As the share increases, the developing country's own agricultural industry will fail. This is rather acceptable when the developed country gives the food aid. The real problem is when the food aid stops. If there are no more surplus food aid production left, then the developing country will be drastically affected.
The question now is whether there will be enough jobs so Haitians can support themselves, or whether the country will again face the dilemma of food aid.